Welcome back. In the previous lecture, we learned to get access to the Databricks Community Edition workspace. In this lecture, we want to learn how to use it. How to use it for doing some common things, like how do we use it to create a Spark project? How do we use it to write code? How to run and test your code? And usual things that we want to do in a project. So let's start a demo and I'll try to help you understand these steps using the Databricks Community Edition workspace. Let me log into my community workspace. So start your browser and just log into your Databricks Community Edition workspace. Here it is. So this is your home page of your Databricks Community Edition workspace. We have two sets of menu items. One you can see on the left side and one more is hidden here, right? So what do we want to do? We want to learn how to create a Spark project in the Databricks workspace. So let's start with that. What I want to do, I want to create a small, very simple, tiny project, a Spark project using the Databricks workspace. Write some code and then execute that code. And that's all. So let's start with that and learn how to do it. You can go to Workspace. Workspace menu allows you to create project directories. By default, you will see two directories already created here, shared and users. Shared directory is a shared location for sharing your project code with other users. But you should have a multi-user environment. But currently we are into a single user environment. The users is a home for all the users. So inside users, you will see a home directory for all the users. In my case, I have only one single user, so I can see only single user home directory. Inside the home directory, we can go and create our project directories. It is not mandatory to create project directories inside the home directory. You can create it anywhere, but it is recommended to create your project directories inside your user home directory. So let me go inside my user home directory. I already have some project directories already created here, but for today's demo, let's create a new project directory. So click this small drop down button and you can come to create and then go to folder and create a project directory. Give a name to it. Let's call it my project or maybe my first project and hit the create button. You will see it here. Once your project directory is created, you can maybe move it to somewhere else if you want to. You can delete it, you can rename it, you can clone it, all that you can do. But if you go inside the create button, you can create notebooks inside your project directory, or you can click this project directory, come here, and from here you can create notebook. So what is notebook? Notebook in Databricks workspace is a code file. Notebook is a file where you can write code and execute it. Notebooks are very rich in terms of offering different types of features for developers. We will slowly learn about all those features, but as of now, you can think of it a code file where you can write code and execute your code. So let's create a notebook in my project directory and it's there. By default, we got some weird name, untitled notebook. You can just click there and change your notebook name. So let me give a name to this. Let's call it example one. You can call whatever you want. And then inside the notebook interface, you will see one line highlighted here. This is where you can write your code. You can write a single line of code. You can write multi-line code. Whatever you want to write, you can write here. So let me write some code. What I want to do, simple thing, in Spark, I want to read a data file from some directory location and bring it into the Spark memory and then display it. Very simple thing. You might not understand that code yet because you are just beginning, but nothing to worry. Just you can watch me coding and we will slowly learn about the code. So let me write the code. Spark dot read, and I want to read a CSV file format. So format is CSV, then option header true. Okay, so I have a small Spark code. So what this code is doing, it is trying to read a data file from this location. The data file format is CSV, and first row in the CSV file is a header row. And I also want Spark to automatically infer the schema, means data type for different columns. So I'm setting that option here. You don't understand it now, no problem. And what it will do, it will read the data file, load it, bring it into the memory in the data frame variable df, and then I want to display that data frame. That's all. Very simple program. I'm not doing too much. So I have the program. Now I want to run it. That's what we want to do on the day-to-day basis, right? We want to write Spark code, write applications, and run it, test it, debug it, and then maybe take it for production deployment or deployment in QA environment. So we will learn all that, how to do that using the workspace environment. So the first step is done. I have written the Spark code here. Now I want to run it. How to run it? This is a browser-based IDE. I'm working in a browser. I'm writing code in a notebook file. Notebook file is saved somewhere on the Databricks server. But for executing this code, we need a CPU, right? We need a computer. We need a machine. Spark programs execute on a cluster of machines, a distributed cluster. So for executing this, we need a cluster machine. Where is that cluster? Databricks gives you a one single node free cluster facility in the community edition. So you can see this compute menu. Click this compute menu and we can create a cluster. So I want to open the next window in a separate browser tab. So press Control and then click the compute menu. So it opens in a different tab and I don't lose this current one, right? So come here. Let me delete this. So when you are coming here for the first time, you will see something like this. So this is the place where you will see the list of available clusters. So as of now, in the beginning, you will see nothing here. So there is no cluster here, but we can create a cluster. So you hit the create compute button and Databricks environment will allow you to create one free cluster, which will be a single node cluster running in the AWS cloud, free of cost. So let's call it my cluster. You can give a name to your cluster and then you can choose Databricks runtime environment. So we normally prefer choosing the standard latest version runtime environment. And this runtime environment comes with Spark 3.5.0 version. So we choose the latest runtime environment and hit the create compute button. So what it will do, In the background, it will go and create one virtual machine in the AWS cloud and run your Databricks Spark cluster, single node Spark cluster in the cloud. And once that once that machine is ready, you can attach your notebooks to the machine or to the cluster and start running your code. So it usually takes 5 minutes to start a cluster. While it is starting, let's go back to our notebook. So this is my code, right? I want to execute it. For executing this code, I need to attach it to a cluster. Without a cluster, there is no place where I can run this code. For attaching a cluster, you can come here at the top of the notebook and you can see this connect button. So hit this connect button and it will show you clusters. It's still starting. My cluster is still starting, so I don't see anything here. But once it is started, I can come back and attach my cluster. Second thing, this program needs to load data from some location, right? I've just put in some random text here, your file location and file name. So this program needs to read data file from some location and then bring it into the Spark memory and then display it. That's what we want to do. Where is the file? So you also need one more thing. You need storage for running your application. Spark applications are usually designed to do data processing. So you need data. You need data files, you need tables, you need databases. All that is required to write Spark programs and run your Spark program. So for this example, I need one directory where I have a data file which I can read and show, right? So Databricks Community Edition also gives you facility to upload some data files in the cloud, and once your data file is in the cloud, you can start reading, working with the data file and all that. So you got one free cluster from Databricks Community Edition, and you got some free storage in the cloud for keeping your data there so that you can run, develop, debug, and test your applications. So how to get access to the free storage? You can come to the data menu, just click this, and you will see something called DBFS here. So DBFS is Databricks File System. It is a wrapper on the cloud storage. Behind this DBFS, we have a S3, Amazon S3 storage. Databricks mounts the S3 storage and on the DBFS file system and allows us to upload or save or read or write data into the DBFS. In some cases, you might not see this DBFS link here. So if that is the case, you can come to this menu, go to admin settings. I did a control click, so it opens in a new browser tab, and come to workspace settings. In the workspace settings, you will see one configuration called DBFS file browser. If this is enabled, you will see DBFS in the data menu. If this is disabled, you won't be able to see DBFS in the data menu. So in your case, if this is disabled, come here and enable it. Once it is enabled, you can see this DBFS link here. So go click the DBFS link and it will show you some directories. By default, you must see at least one file store directory already created in the DBFS. So you have a root, and inside the root, you should have at least one file store directory already created. Inside the file store directory, you click the file store directory. Inside the file store directory, you can create your own data directories. I already have few things here, but if you are using Workspace for the first time, you should not see these things. So come inside the file store, come inside the file store and you can upload your data. So inside the file store, what I want a subdirectory called data, or maybe sample data. And inside sample data, I want to upload one sample data file. I have a sample data file on my desktop. So let me upload this. Done, right? Hit the done button. And in the file store sample data, you will see this sample.csv. And I can copy this path and come to my notebook and provide the proper path here for the file, right? And slash, what is the file name? Sample.csv, right? So for working on Spark projects, you need three things, right? Minimum. One, you need a place where you can write your code. Notebooks are there to help you write your Spark code. You need a compute resource or a cluster of computers where you can execute your code and test your code. Databricks Community Edition Workspace gives you a free single node cluster for doing that. You need a cloud directory location where you can keep some sample data or test data. During the development, you want to read that data and do the process. For that also, Databricks gives you a free DBFS storage, which is backed by the Amazon S3 storage. You can upload some data there and start working, right? So now everything is there. My cluster must have started. You come here and you will see green tick. This is the compute menu. If you come to compute menu, you will see one cluster. If you come to cluster, you will see a lot of details about the cluster. There are so many tabs here. A lot of details are there. We will slowly learn all that as we keep on using these features. Do not worry too much about these at this stage. So now come back here. I want to run this code. So I have to connect my notebook to the running cluster. So connect it. And once it is connected, you will see this notebook is connected with this cluster. Now you can run it. But how to run it? There are many ways to run it. The easiest and most convenient way is to just, when you are in this text box or in the code box, just press Control Enter and Spark or your Databricks environment will run this code. Or you have run cell play button here. You can hit this button and run this code, right? So let me press Control Enter and let it run. Okay, so I have a syntax here, syntax error dot option, sorry, two dots here. That happens. So let me run it once again. So notebooks are excellent development interface. It allows you to write code here. It allows you to run it. If there are errors, it will show you right there. You can look at the error message, fix your issues, rerun it, and the output is shown just below the code, right? So I'm done with this. I've finished executing my code, right? And this code actually went back to this my cluster, executed there, and then result came back, and this notebook is showing me the result here. That's how this Databricks environment works. Great. So that's what we wanted to learn. We wanted to learn how we can create projects, we can write code, how we can execute our code, how we can test our code, how all that works in this browser-based IDE. We call it Databricks Community Edition Workspace, right? Now let me quickly walk you through with the menus here. So Workspace menu, you already learned. Workspace menu gives you the list of available directories, and inside your directory, it gives you a list of available files. You can create directories, you can create files or notebooks inside the directory. Recent will show you all your recent items that you have been recently working. Search will allow you to search inside your workspace. If you want to search something, for example, I want to search Spark. So lot of places it found Spark, right? Data menu shows you your databases, tables, and DBFS is your cloud directory where you can upload some data file for working with your Spark projects or applications. You can also create tables. You can also create databases and all that. And that is also allowed. So by default, this environment comes with a default database pre-created for you. There are no tables inside it. We will learn about it going forward, but you have that facility. So if you are writing a program which reads data from some table, performs some kind of operations, transformations, and want to write it into some other table, you have the database here. You can create those tables and you can run your program. So all the infrastructure kind of requirements are met by the Databricks Community Edition environment. In the compute menu, you will see all your clusters. So if you click that compute menu, you will see all your clusters. The cluster that I started will keep on running as long as I'm continuously using it. But if this cluster is idle for maybe 2 hours, it's written here, your compute will automatically terminate after an idle period of 1 or 2 hours. So suppose I'm working on it, I created a cluster and it's running, and then I'm done, I left. So cluster will keep on running for an hour or 2 hours, and after that it will Databricks will automatically terminate that cluster, release it so that it can save time. It's a free cluster, so they will release it and save money for themselves. But next day when you are coming back, you can delete that cluster. Let me delete this right away. So you can delete a cluster, right? It was running, but next day when you come back working in this environment again, the old free cluster must be in terminated state. So you can delete it and create a new one. You can create one running cluster at a time. It doesn't allow you to create 2, 3 running clusters because it is free. So you can create a new cluster, again, give a name, maybe same name, and hit the create compute button, and it will create a new cluster. It will again start it, and then you can start working on it again. It's starting, right? So this is the place where you can come and look at the clusters, available clusters, do the cleanup and all that activities, and create a new cluster for executing your notebooks. Workflows allows you to create a workflow of jobs, a pipeline, but that feature is not available in the community edition, free edition. So we will learn about it when we move into the premium edition of the Databricks, and I'll cover it later at that time. So that's about these menu items. You have a menu item here at the bottom, which allows you to collapse and expand and make it an auto so that it automatically collapse and expand, all that. That's your personal preference. I prefer keeping it as expanded. You have another menu item here. Mainly 3, 4 things are there: user settings, admin settings, delete account, which you don't want to do, and log out. So user settings, let me go to user settings. Uh, Let me go to user settings and also go to admin settings in a new tab. That's the trick. You want to open something in a new browser window, press Control and then click that. You can come here on the user settings. If you want to change your password or forgot password, you can reset your password. Databricks also allows you to connect your code with your source code repository, your GitHub or any other Git based source control. Now we will learn about that later, how to do that. And then there are some editor settings. These are notebook related settings. You can go through it and personalize few things based on your preference, but defaults are good. Email preference, you have some email facility also. but we usually won't be using it for learning purposes. And language settings, you have your language preference. There are multiple languages, so if you prefer any other language, you can set your preferred language. Now come to admin settings. So in admin settings, you have users. You can add some other users to your workspace and share your notebooks or content or whatever you are doing. You can share it with them. There is something called global init script. We will cover it later in the course. So you can create global init scripts from here. And then workspace settings. This is the place where you might want to come and see if some feature is not working. If during the demo or during the class, if I'm explaining you something, you see something on my Databricks UI, but if it is not available in your UI, this is the place where you can come and check. Maybe something is disabled. You can check what is disabled and what is enabled. A lot of things are there, right? So some features are not available in the free edition, so they have disabled it, but a lot of other features are there. So let me refresh. You want to come to home page of your Databricks workspace, click the logo and you will be back at your home page. Let me go back to my notebook. This is my example one notebook. So when notebook is open, you will see some notebook related menu items here. These are workspace item menu items. These are your configuration or setting menus, and this one is your notebook menu. And these menu items allow you to do few usual editor related things. Like if you go to file, you can create new notebook, you can import, clone, do all these kind of move, rename, delete. This will be applicable to the current notebook. And then edit, you can do format notebook, set Python indentation, cut, copy, paste, and all those things. View, it gives notebook gives you a multiple views. For example, side by side view. If you switch to side by side view, your code is here and output is next to the code, right? It's all your personal preference. You want to switch back to standard, so this is your standard. And run menu gives you commands to run, right? So we will learn more about the notebooks. Slowly, we will keep on exploring everything. I don't want to put you into a lot of learning at this place, which doesn't make sense. So we'll keep on learning notebook interface, more about the Databricks interface as we progress with the course. And that's all. That's what we wanted to cover in this lecture. See you again. Keep learning and keep growing.